Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ & Sons and our Austin Adventure Park series where we have completed the park and we are going to be taking a walkthrough today. And this is basically how everybody has got to enter. They come out of the little hotel and we're going to come across the parking lot roads and right here into our little entrance area where we do have our ticket booths, our information booths, and just some basic little decorations off to the side as far as the flowers, the plants. Those buildings are outside of the ticket booth stuff in there. Those buildings are, um, they don't have any type of interior. I don't really do a whole lot of interiors of buildings for the most part. So you don't have to worry, we're not going to go marching through a lot of those. Now, here we come into the entrance plaza, the first thing that we did build here in the series. And we're going to take a look at our little restrooms off to the side there, and here we come to our lockers that we had designed. I put the ATMs and all that stuff in there hoping it would at least get people to go in. Apparently not. But oh well, it is what it is on that end. And there is the curse, the first ride that we had built in the park, and we're going to start going around essentially in the way the park was designed. We're going to come off here to the left into the more piratey area, and we're going to take on Redbeard's Revenge right here as the first ride coming through each one of these little lines. I am going to skip over some of these walls so we can still see the basic decorations that goes into them, but that way I don't have to worry about waiting in line with people and all that. And yeah, this one was kind of a low ceiling. Kind of my bad, but I liked how it felt kind of cavey after I put it that low on accident. So I think it actually works out pretty well for this queue path coming into it. So let's get past this group of people here and just keep on cutting in front of everybody. We can do this. We own the park, and these people can't complain one bit about it. One thing I did want to make sure of is, though, in the queue path or exits, at least some portion of it, there is going to be plenty of coaster interaction with the path. So I think we have a lot of that with the lift hill, primarily as far as that queue path goes. And so it kind of builds up that anticipation, that fear of it as we get ready to go on. So now we're going to get here in line for the Redbeard's Revenge, and let's take a look at the stats right quick as it goes on out. We're looking at 56 miles per hour, 98 feet tall, a couple of inversions. And so let's get on this thing, and I will catch up back with y'all when this ride is done. So that was the first roller coaster that actually went into the park. I like how it turned out. It's got some pretty good little inversions there, good designs going along the way, a couple head chopper moments, and I think really works. And here's our first little exit area. I did put a just memento picture thing. I didn't build an actual picture booth or kind of souvenir shop like in some of the other areas. So this was the first one, so it was kind of like a test run. As far as putting a little exit plaza on the rides. Now we do come down here and we see our little Larson looper. We're not going to get on that. It just goes in circles. And in fact, I don't think anybody's on it right now. So there's no point in hopping on an empty ride. And just take a look at kind of this little food court area that we had built right by the lake. It turned out incredibly well. The viewpoints of it, seeing the other coasters in the background, seeing how Redbeard's comes around there and actually makes a beautiful sound as it comes around the track. right over those restaurants that you get to hear. I think just works perfectly for any type of theme park that you have. Um, Especially, you get primarily that sound with a lot of those B&M coasters, and that's kind of one of the biggest things about it is that noise that it makes. So it builds it all up, gets you ready to get on it, and kind of get you excited and nervous at the same time. So we are going to move out of that piratey area as we had just taken a look briefly at our second little food court there. And we're going to come to one of our bigger draws of the park, our biggest attraction rides, is going to be the Test Pilot. That is our B&M winged coaster. Now, it's more of a modern type setup. It's definitely not a scientific one, I would say. It's just basic modern. And that's what we kind of did here with the roof, or at least the path covers for the most part, the little shading areas for the queue path. That turned out incredibly well. I do love how the queue goes right next to the go-karts. So you kind of hear those things go whizzing by as you're doing what I'm doing and jumping across areas and cutting the line majorly to get onto this ride. But I think it turns out pretty well for what we were doing, what the intention was, keeping it a modern but not futuristic, I think would be the best way to describe that. And this one is, like I said, a B&M wing coaster. It is one of the biggest draws of the park. This is the one people come to get on. And so let's take a look at the stats right there. You got 59 miles per hour, a couple of inversions, 113-foot drop. So nothing too major, but it's got a lot of excitement into it. And as we get going here, there it is. We're going to kick off on this one, and I'm going to hop off and let y'all enjoy the ride, and I will see y'all when we are done with it.
I beg your pardon.
And there it was, the Test Pilot. I liked how that ride turned out. I really did, especially going through all the different little head chopper moments off that loop, coming into it with the couple of barrel rolls, the zero G turns. And then as we come out into the exit plaza, this is one of my favorite parts. I mentioned it last time, some of the path interaction with the actual coaster track. This is one of the best areas in this exit plaza for family to sit down and wait for you to get off the ride if they chose not to get on it. But the track comes right along this line here, and I mean, it is a beautiful sight to see, especially as it comes into these corkscrews right around that turn into the corkscrew. And I mean, that's just about as perfect as they can get for basically a spectator at this point. In this little exit plaza, they are shaded some, and we did put in a couple of vending machines next to the restrooms, just because you got to figure if you have a restroom, in most parks they got vending machines there with it. Now this is our first little picture booth. We got some on-ride photos right there, kind of blocked things off so people don't go walking back there. This was the first one that we had built for it, so we do get a little bit better as we go along. And I think you'll kind of see that transition to where I think we had some of the best going at that stage. Now, this is our go-kart track. The reason why we got the fire truck and police car there is for emergency services in case anybody whips one of these go-karts, does about 7 different rollovers or something. or horrific accident, you got to have emergency services. And then, so yeah, so we're going to cross over the first tunnel that you would go in on the go-kart. You can kind of see the path, the little go-kart track as it goes around that way. I didn't want you to be able to see too much of it. So yeah, it is pretty massive. I did want it to be hidden, but once again, it's kind of just go after that sound, the enjoyment of the people as you kind of move along the path of the park. Now we are going to come back here to our SciFi area. This was the last zone built in the park, but kind of made a little loop around. That's just how it works. And there's our Crash River, the river rapids. And then we have our little shuttle in the background there. And actually that view works perfectly to see that thing going over in its little loop segment. And I mean, that's what I really wanted to focus on a lot with when it came to the rides, at least, is having good viewpoints from the paths in the park. I think work extremely well for it, especially right here. You're still kind of close to the one coaster we have in this section, but you can see little tidbits of it sticking out over the trees as you're eyeballing these aliens and stuff working on something back there. Little just decoration, little Disney type decoration going in. But that's not why we come to theme parks, is to stand around and stare at little things like that. We come to get on the rides. So this is going to be X Launch. We are going to cut through this queue line here, jump over the fences. And these little decoration things in here actually worked out pretty well. I do like how they kind of turned out. They give pretty good light to the area. They don't give too much, so in a real world they wouldn't be too expensive. They would actually be pretty well doable as far as putting just, little queue fillers and all that into your eye. And you will see they do kind of repeat. That's, I guess, one thing I got to work on there is cutting down on some of the repetition. But I think, and the idea of you're going into a futuristic type of experimental lab, you're going to have a lot of the same equipment around. And so you got to figure, yeah, you're going to have some repetition going, whether it be those radioactive barrels or anything like that. Now we come down to our basically computer programmer walls is what it looks like. Those turned out pretty well, a lot better than what I thought they would. I will say that. This one's kind of plain, but the other side was pretty good, pretty well detailed. And then even on these with all the different panels, I think using those panels on these walls worked out really well for providing that kind of scientific little viewpoint of it. So this is going to be X Launch. We are going to hop on it real quick. It is launched, so I'm not going to see a whole lot of stats for it. But I will catch up with y'all when we hop off this one. So enjoy the ride. That was X Launch. See, it's a launch one, but it's not too intense, which is kind of what I like. So for people that generally don't like launch rides, that would be kind of a perfect starter. Now coming off, this is the first time I used TMTK items as far as the souvenirs in our little picture shop here. Still need to work on some of the floor decorations. It's kind of pretty bare. I will admit that. But we do have some of the cups, some of those Lego sets and t-shirts made in the TMTK. Which actually turned out pretty well. I did have to turn my graphics for this part down to the lowest setting, and I have the guest count limited to about 1,000. I do think if I didn't do that, probably would be a little little laggy at times. I do run this off a laptop, which isn't the most powerful in the world, but it's good enough and gets the job done. And so now we leave scientific area. Leave the science behind and go basically into the past. So where in the hell are you running, kid? Oh, he wasn't running very far. He got tired. He went 20 feet and had to stop. That's not a statement on the fitness of Americans today. I don't know what is. All right. So now our little historical type area. It's not really medieval. It's just more castle-y. That's kind of what I liked about it. You got to figure this would be the courtyard of a small little castle, so it's got plenty of flowers, beds, and all that. It looks actually pretty well coming into it. And so now we're going to jump in the queue line for our inverted coaster. I'm trying to figure out why I forgot to put a wall there. It kind of looks ridiculous. But, hey, you find out these little details as you go along. That's just one of those things. I'm not going to worry about fixing it at this point. No park is ever perfect. We're going to come along here, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of forgot how long I designed this queue path for. I mean, going down, I was like, holy good lord, how much further do I have to go? But in reality, if I allowed more than 1,000 people in here, yeah, the computer would be pretty laggy, but these queues would actually be filled up. And I know that because I forgot to turn on the limit for guests, and my game took forever to get going, but these queue lines were busy as hell. So it kind of works out in the end to just limit it. Even though it looks like no one's going on these things, it's only because of the number of people. All right, so we're going to hop on to the King's Guard right here and take a look at the stats. We got 56 miles per hour. It's going to have a few inversions, about 5 of them, 89-foot drop. Let's hop on this ride, and I will catch y'all on the other side as this thing gets going. The King's Guard right there. After riding that thing, I think I need to put some maybe possible trim brakes there at the end. We'll kind of see how that that goes. That was kind of a quick little jolt at the end coming to a stop. So minor little detail. A few broken bones, couple lawsuits. We'll get over it. So now we're going to come down the exit into this little plaza area, which has a small little food court and a couple of flat rides here with the chair, the old school swinging chairs, which the design of those don't really fit this section as I see it now, but oh well. The flower beds, once again, and that courtyard feel to it, that's just kind of what I liked about that. It works with having a little castle. You got to figure it's going to have some gardeny courtyards going with it. So once again, as I've said about 10 times already, the path interaction with these coasters, I wanted to have these viewpoints. I wanted it to be able to see, the ride come down along the track. Like I said, see it, hear it. Normally you hear the people screaming and all that. That just really builds to the fun of a theme park. And so that's kind of what some of these viewpoints that I built in were, especially coming right here into this massive bat wing. And you'll see how this ride comes along. It actually has pretty good hang time coming over the top of those the little bat wing sections. So It does delay it, kind of little hang time there, allows you to see it for longer, which generally make people scream a lot more in real life, which is one of the best parts of watching these rides go. All right, so now we're going to come around here to one of the first little lookouts, or first lake, or second lake we had built. But this lookout is one really we wanted to build it over the water, kind of have a big seating area for everybody to sit down and watch. I had thought about doing a fireworks show, but decided in the end not to, just the sequencer thing. I played around with it, and I just really didn't enjoy that part, so forgot the fireworks, moved on out, and now we're going to come over to what really would be the last part of the park, which is more of a Western design. I put in a Ferris wheel right here. It would give us good viewpoints, but it's a Ferris wheel, so no, we're not going to ride it. And then we have our big coaster over here, which has been red for a long time, and I just recently repainted it and gave it its new sign, the Verde Loco. Mainly because in Austin, with our soccer team, they always call them the Verde and all that stuff. So I figured it sounded pretty crazy to do that. So Verde Loco seemed to work. So that's what we are going to be hopping on. It is our RMC hybrid coaster. It is not steel topped. It is just a steel track. Let's get over here and we'll take a look at the stats for it. It's going to go 57 miles per hour, a little over 100-foot drop. And this one is on its way. So let's go ahead and hop on, not this train, next one. All right. So we are up, and I will check y'all whenever we get off this ride. All right, there it is. A couple little head chopper moments on that one in terms of I think it may actually take off your head. That could be a slight issue for us later on, but we'll deal with it. And now I have floating poles. Can't be good. Oh well, moving on. So you'll notice a lot of these roller coasters didn't really get over 120 feet tall. I do figure if a big park was going to be built in Austin, there would have to be height limitations to it. So this is kind of a funny little glitch. These little souvenir things like that Mr. Head, look at them. It made them sink down into the ground. I don't get why that happened, but hey, it did. All right, so that was it. But these 120-foot tall rides, just to get back on, I don't think Austin would be able to build one where they get super massive just for height restrictions. So that's why they kind of had them limited to that size. Now, this is one of the best ride covers I think I had built in a long time for one of these little flat rides like this. It did become kind of a pain opening up the exit section here. But putting in that wall that mechanic walked right through, that actually I think really helped it out some. So now we're going to come around back to the front of the park, and that is basically everything. It's not a massive park. It's only got the 5 or 6 roller coasters in it, but I love how it turned out, and I will upload this to the Steam Workshop, and I'll put that link in the description of the video. So this does remind me, while we are looking at this, at the night shots, if you have not hit the subscribe button, go on ahead and hit that But and if you did like today's video, give us a thumbs up. It really does help out the channel. We greatly appreciate everything that y'all do for us here at Champ and Sons Gaming. And I also want to thank y'all for all the support y'all have shown the channel over the last month or so. It's been crazy watching the subscriber count go up, the viewership go up. So thank y'all very much for all of that. So with that in mind, we're going to finish up some of those last little views, and I'll leave y'all with some of the cinematic shots of the coasters as we go. And on that note, we will be doing a Planet Zoo series coming up next. So be prepared for that. I've already started working on it. That'll be our next big thing. So I will leave y'all here. Once again, thank y'all for watching very much. As always, stay safe, and well, y'all know how it goes, right? Later, y'all.